I says to the guy, I says, wrecked him, damn near killed him.
You know we're recording, right?
What?
We're recording.
On this week's episode of Nerdistic Tendencies, we go deep inside the nerdy. We got a field trip to Bell Book and Comics here in Dayton, my local comic book store. We are going to take a trip back in time and open up this comic book. It's Strange Tales 136. We also are going to go through the books that I picked up for the week. And believe it or not, we have a mailbag. So let's go check it out. Hey, what's up, nerds? Welcome to this week's episode of Nerdistic Tendencies. I am your host, Ray Hale. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the ringy dingy, so you can be the first to see my new video every week. So every week I take a trip down to my local comic book store, Bell Book and Comic here in Dayton, Ohio, and had a massive grab this week. So we're going to go through this, check these out. Plus, while I was out and about with my family in the Oregon district, stopped by and picked up a couple other ones from a couple of little stores over there. So we're going to check out those four as well. This is a reprint of Giant Size X-Men #1, but it actually is this also has a backup story that was the second appearance of the New Mutants. Uncanny X-Men 119. This is all Phoenix Run stuff here. It's amazing. This is a good issue here. This here is Uncanny X-Men 120. This is actually the first cameo appearance of Alpha Flight, who is a big part of Marvel Comics at this time, but also is rumored to be a part of the MCU moving forward. Uncanny X-Men 121. This is the first full appearance of Alpha Flight. That's Vindicator, Aurora, Northstar, Sasquatch, Snowbird, and Shaman. Uncanny X-Men 122. This has the Origin of Colossus in it. Again, it's a key issue here. Origin of Colossus, and it's the first time that Mastermind uses the name Jason Wingard. Uncanny X-Men 123. I guess this is a key. Apparently, it says it shows Storm's nipples exposed in a panel. I didn't see anything, so I don't know what the big deal here. But cool issue, guest starring Spider-Man, Arcade, awesome. Uncanny X-Men 124. Again, this all ties into the Arcade story. This is fantastic. X-Men are kidnapped by Arcade. It's awesome. Uncanny X-Men 125. Now, this is the first cameo appearance of Mutant X, which is Protus. That's the son of Moira McTaggart. So that's pretty cool. Uncanny X-Men 126. First full appearance of Protus. Again, the son of Moira McTaggart, and the X-Men are getting their butt kicked there. Okay, this is cool. Okay, so this is Uncanny X-Men number 133. This is the Dark Phoenix Saga, Part 5. First solo Wolverine cover. It's also the first time his healing factor is mentioned. Uncanny X-Men 134. This is Part 6 of the Dark Phoenix Saga. This is where Jean Grey becomes the Dark Phoenix. So it's like a cameo last panel of the book where they show that. This is something new. This is U.S. Agent, issue number 5. This has been a really good run. So if you haven't seen that yet, check that out. Black Widow number 6. Again, another new run, but this has been a fantastic comic book. So if you haven't picked up any of these, you got to check it out. This is X-Men Legends number 3. This particular comic book is cool. This run, it brings back some of the old artists, creators, and writers from previous X-Men runs, and it's really, really cool. It ties in some loose stories there. This is Savage She-Hulk. This was bought, my daughter actually got it for me. It's number 25. It's the last in that original run. Randomly at some store in the Oregon district. This is Marvel Superheroes issue number 1. Fantastic book. Paid like $4 for it. It's reprints, but again, Daredevil, reprint of Daredevil's origin, Avengers, and plus a 40s story of Namor and the Human Torch, the original Human Torch. Marvel Tales number 56 and 276. Again, these are no big deal, but they fill holes in my runs. So I like these. These are reprints of old Amazing Spider-Man stories. This week I had an opportunity to get together with the owner of my local comic book store, Pete Bell, for Bell Book and Comic. Let's check it out. All right, here we are this week at Bell Book and Comic. I'm here with my main man, Pete Bell. Hello. And we're here to talk about comic books and his store. So how did you get into doing this? Obviously, you were a collector before. So What made you decide to open this store?
Well, I was working at a comic book store downtown in Dayton called the Dragon Slayer in the 90s when I was going to college. And when I was getting to graduate, I thought, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I have degrees that will lead me to do something in the field, but I thought, well, I've done this enough in the retail area. I should at least try to start a store, see if it gets rolling. And if it doesn't, I can always, do what I want to do, write, draw, whatever. And we started the shop after I graduated, and it just never slowed down.
Sweet.
I mean, it just kept rolling. I mean, we gradually always had an audience, but we opened it at a bad time, too. 2003, the market was horrible. Comic books were low. It wasn't that, busy. But we managed through it, and it just, kept rolling, and we're here now, 18 years later.
Sweet. What was it when you first started opening? Obviously, because this is like the dream for many people.
Yeah.
So how quickly, once the store opened, did that dream start to go? There's a lot going on that I didn't anticipate.
First couple years, I mean, since I've done the retail side of things and ordered through the companies and know how the distribution houses work, that was already tackled. It was like finding the new audience, being in a location that you're not really aware of yet as far as who's going to come in. And I guess the biggest thing is just make sure your product numbers weren't out of whack, so you weren't like, oh, we ordered 500 copies of this and we sold 2, But we had a better handle on it since I already knew the market and the area of, how to order and the distributors and what they did and how the variant trade worked and all that. So it just never really was that much of a hassle. It was just trying to get the new feel of a new location, working. So, but a lot of people knew me already, so it wasn't that horrible of a, oh, no one knows you. You're just opening a store in the city. I had 9 years working there, so I didn't tell any customers, look, I'm opening a store, don't go here anymore. I just left there and opened, and all of my friends knew me. So I didn't want to be accused of, oh, he called all his friends away. And because it didn't do anything to hurt that business, just leave. I didn't sabotage them in any way. I was never going to do that. So, even though I was accused of it. So, when we started, it was just my friends were my main customers, and then people just knew, hey, comic book store. And it spreads around. It's not like we're a metropolis, but people knew me. And they're like, oh, he has his own store. Let's start going there and checking it out. But everybody shops everywhere overall, just to check them out other places. But, once people realize, oh, this is where I want to be in my shop and all that.
So what was the first big book that you really started selling out of the gate? When you had the store open, what was the big book that really started to turn things around and comics started opening up a little bit more? Because I know it was a downtime when you started.
The biggest thing that got us officially rolling was in 2006 when Civil War hit. Because we had opened in 2003, and the first couple years, okay, the titles are happening, and the JLA Avengers happened, and we were on the board for all that, and that was a bit of a bigger item. But when Civil War hit, and customers were thinking, oh, okay, this is like heroes versus heroes for the first time, before the movies even were a thing. That storyline, I mean, that was the highest grossing book we ordered at the time as far as selling numbers.
Really?
Yeah. because up until then, you ordered 30 or 40 of this or 50 or 60 of that, and you did okay, but you wanted to have some stock. But with that one, like, we couldn't keep up. Like, I had to reorder it a couple times to get my numbers up after Issue 2 came out, because they're like, oh wait, Spider-Man reveals himself? What the heck? So it was a super big deal. That's why I remember in my head is like, okay, after 2-3 years, we weren't struggling, but that was when we're like, oh, we have customers who are adding on to that. And then when Walking Dead was another thing, kept gaining ground. We always kept getting, and then when the show hit, it was just boom. So those are the two biggest ones that stand out in my mind of what really got people like, hey, let's always come in there and get that. And our numbers were always exciting on how increasing they were after each issue. So,
sweet.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, when when Civil War came out, did you was it a problem trying to market and also sell all of the associated tie-ins? Because the books, just like nowadays, it's like there's a main story and then there's everything it just seems like is a tie-in.
It didn't seem like that was an issue then, because there wasn't the crossover fatigue at the time. I mean, there had been crossover books like the Infinity books. They had multiple tie-ins, but they were like, oh, okay. But in the modern era of like the crossover, that one was like, well, I have to check out all the parts. I got to see what happens, because Spider-Man was key with the new suit, the armor. Been off title, the front line, where it was like the journalism side of Civil War, which never really happened before in the big crossover like that. Where what happens with the human side of things, watching the action, and the villains were focused on a lot, because they were rounding up the villains and putting them in. They're using it in the movies now. What was the
Raft?
The Raft. The Raft was invented at that time because of the villains and separating the heroes and who was on Cap's side and who was on Tony's side. So when the movies finally came out, 10 years, 12 years later, it was like, wow, we've read this. And now people are, in a mass scale, we're seeing it for the first time. We're like, whatever.
Been there, we know what that is.
But we're excited because we've seen it. Like, they're actually, using material that was actually written, not like, oh, we're adapting the character and doing whatever the heck we want with it. It was, that's happened. Like, that's how I kind of went down to an extent, and it really excited us. And that's how the movies have been too, which always gain new ground with customers.
So now, right now, what's the hot titles at the moment?
Hot titles now are Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, of course, is super big with some of the offshoot titles they're doing now, some of the miniseries and like the smaller press things. But independents are really big as well. A lot of Image titles are really gaining a lot of ground and getting readers right off the bat. A lot of horror titles.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
So now, this store sells everything that's current,
Yes.
as well as multiple back issues, multiple areas. I'm more of a silver bronze guy, but I like some of the newer stuff too. But you also buy comic books too. What are some of the craziest things you've seen walk into the store?
Oh, we've seen it all. I've bought collections that have contained Tiger Beat magazine and old 60s music memorabilia, or I got a collection that had like video game controllers in it and like a wooden puzzle from the 70s, as well as like board games. I mean, I even bought a collection that had the frickin' Xenia tornado paperwork in it. I mean, what do I do with it? I just stick it in a drawer. Some days I'll be like, man, I wish there was some Xenia tornado. I have that, You see all sorts of things come through when you're trying to buy comics, games, and toys. You see variations of all of it.
Wow.
I guess just as one specific example that was most bizarre that fits our genre, in the collection I just bought, there was a set of Star Trek cigar wrappers from the 70s from Holland.
Really?
Like little images of Kirk and Spock on a cigar wrapper band, and there was a set of 12, and it was all 12.
Really?
Never seen
I
that
didn't know
before.
that was a thing.
I didn't either.
That's fantastic.
I'm like, a cigar, okay.
Hey, look, anytime you can put William Shatner's face on something,
Exactly.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, and smoke it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in this store.
Yeah.
Is it was like one of the best days of my life because I'm a giant nerd. But I came walking in the door and I said, hey, come over here, check this out. And he says, hold out your hands. And then in this hand, he produces an Uncanny X-Men #1. And then in this hand, there is a giant size X-Men #1. And I basically my pants at that moment.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to hold the books anymore. I was like, oh my God, I never thought I would ever see anything like that.
Right. At least I didn't put a giant sized man thing in your hand. Right?
I don't know.
Oh, you never know.
You know, I'm not saying that would have been a bad thing. I'm not saying that would have been a good thing.
Get
I'm
all
just
5
saying.
issues, you can collect the whole series.
There you go. So now, if you got somebody, because we are addressing a letter that I received this week.
Okay.
So in reference to Logan, who's a 15-year-old kid, loves the MCU, and decided, you know what, I want to start getting into comics.
Right.
But he's just kind of not sure what to get. What would you recommend for somebody coming in the store, buying their first comic books, just getting to collecting? What would be some good tips for them?
The one thing I explain to people when they first come in, they either want to start with one thing. They came in, I see a lot of new kids come in, they're like, hey, I want to start Miles, or I want to start Miss Marvel, or I want to start She-Hulk, or a character that they've seen. I got a kid come in the other day, he wanted Magic, the character of the X-Men sister, Peter's sister from the X-Men. He saw her in New Mutants. And I know a lot of people didn't really dig the movie, but the kid was like, oh my God, is there any Magic comics? And I'm like, yes. And I had to do some digging, but I found a miniseries they did in 2006 or 7 of her, and he was really happy about that. And he goes, well, what else? And Mom was like, well, is there anything else that he would like? And I said, well, if you start X-Men, on my $5 trades, I had a used copy of the giant size X-Men Start trade, like the Masterworks softcover, for $5. And I'm like, look, like Magic came around a little bit later, but this is the start of that modern era of the X-Men in the 70s that took him into present day fame. I said for $5 he can read this, and I think he'll really enjoy it. And if he digs this, there's a whole lot more to get started with. So you try to pick an origin or a complete story. That's why I have a lot of sets back there. Where like here, you can buy them all and read them together, and then see where you want to go. Because a lot of people start off like, hey, I want Spider-Man, and then they're like, well, I like Venom, and then they offshoot to Venom, and they go to Carnage, and they can go to the villain. They can go anywhere. So it seems to be start with what your interest is, and then we can make recommendations, but we don't force anything down anybody's throat. Like, look, see what you think, or we can tell you this, or like, just look on the shelf. Does something catch your eye? Because, covers are meant to be like, hey, I want to buy that issue. Overall, that's what they're meant to do. Like, why do I want to buy that issue? Oh, okay, well, that looks in. What's going on there? I got to try it, So I just tell people, if you know what you like, take a look, pick something out, start small, because people can get overwhelmed. Like, oh, I bought $100 worth of books, and I read 2 of them, and I don't know what to do now. And then so, okay, just buy 1 book. If that's get rolling with it. And I know this weekend was supposed to be Free Comic Book Day weekend. I had a lot of people coming in on the static thinking, first Saturday in May is Free Comic Day. And I tell people, look, it's not this year. Because of everything going on, they shifted it to August. So it's August 14th now. That's the date.
Free Comic Book Day.
Yep, just so everybody know. So hopefully we'll run it as normal, one big day, give out all the books, expand people's ideas and interest in what's going on now, and we have a big sale and we do a whole up thing. So we'll be all right with it. It seems like everybody's coming in for new items, and they're happy about what they want to pick out, and I see them coming back repeatedly to get another book or 2, or to get some more cards, or to get something else they want to keep an interest in. And moms are happy about it. Like, oh, he's reading. He wants this, and we're always
that's the thing,
kind of
right?
polite to people, and like, hey, we don't talk down to anybody, and it's all like, hey, what do you want? What are you interested in? It's not like, oh, she came in looking for some comics, and no one talked to me, and I got ignored. No, not that. So.
No, and certainly all the times I see here, one of the things that, so Dayton has a number of different shops.
Yep.
For to go get your comic books. So when I started getting back into it, I started looking around for a shop, and I went to multiple shops. I came here because the staff is great. Okay, the staff is always coming in.
Yep.
They're asking you questions, but at the same time, they're letting you do your thing.
Yeah.
They're not hounding you.
Yeah.
And just, hey, something I can help you out, and I like that. They're also very interactive, very knowledgeable.
Yep.
Okay, the store has just about anything you can possibly want, or at least get started.
Yeah.
On your way to something.
Yep.
But it's more than that, isn't it? It's almost a community.
Yeah.
So you come in, it's not even just the interaction with you and the staff.
Yep.
It's the other
Yeah.
customers that
Yeah.
come in here. So, hey, have you ever read this or checked this? What do you think of this? And that's a big part of this world is actually the community.
Right. Oh yeah, and I see customers who come in and just by chance, another customer will come in and they know each other, like, hey, what are you doing? And they like hug or say hi, and they haven't talked in a while, and they get.
Hi.
She in the shot?
Her tail was.
Oh. That baby
Well, there
girl.
you go.
So we have customers who come in and they are almost overwhelmed, but that's why we leave them to be. And we tell people, look, you can go back there and look at the trades, and they're like, well, can we go back that far? I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's why we have a green exit sign instead of a red. So it's like, well, we thought it was storage. Well, you can shop the whole store. And then they're like, this is the freaking TARDIS. It's so much bigger on the inside. Like, we didn't, when we just had one door, one storefront, we just had this one column for the first 9 years of this store's existence.
Really?
It was that door, and there was no wall cut, and it went right back, and that was it. This was it.
Wow.
We didn't have that with the other storefront with the gaming. Everything was up front, and the gaming was in the back, and then when we shifted a little bit and we were able to use the other game front, we shifted everything around a little bit more, put the back issues in the back, and had the tables up front for organizing, and then the gamers played over there. And now we're all over the board. We have everything separated, all the comics, trades, everything here, gaming on the other side, play area close to the gaming side, and we've spread it out. And because of the extra changes, it's definitely increased our sales and productivity and the traffic flow. People come in like, well, okay, now what do I want? And then they tell their friends, hey, if you want something, go to Bell Book and Comic. They're always good. They know. I know what I want to get from there. I'll tell other people that's where they want to go. They'll find something for themselves there and get started going there and keep coming back.
So on the store side, how is the comic side doing versus the gaming side?
Just as well. Everything's in an equal tier.
Because I do see, as I come in the store, I do see a lot of crisscrossing.
There is a lot of crisscrossing. A lot of people are like, hey, some people are like, oh, we just come in straight to the counter for the gaming and look at Pokemon. And then, like, the mom or the parent will eventually look at the table or come wandering over and look and go, oh, well, God. It goes, can I go? Yeah, sure, go shop. And they're like, okay, cool. Now we keep the dice on this side, so it's not like, hey, you have to go over there too. Mm-hmm. And we're just set up like a grocery store. If you want your comic book supplies, bags, boards, boxes, they're in the farthest place in the store in the back, so you have to walk through the whole store to get to it, like milk. And the grocery, they set it up that way. If you want milk, bread, or orange juice, or
you have to
eggs,
go through the entire
you have to go
store
to the store and
get
get to the back. So we said, well, screw it, let's do the same thing. So if you want bags and boards, go all the way to the back, and then they see something. Oh, okay. An extra 5 minutes before they got their stock because they had saw something and came back. I mean, it's not like we're trying to trick people. It's just it works, And people are, oh, okay, we'll get some supplies, and they walk back like, I didn't know all that was back there. And then next time they come in, that's all they go. Like, well, I need to go back there because I didn't get there the first time, but now I know it's there. I'm on a repeat trip. Look at trades, look at discount stuff, get more supplies,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow,
I
cool.
had a guy come in yesterday, and he's like, oh, do you have any magazines? And I directed him to the back on the right because all the magazines are in one table format. Mm-hmm. And he came up, he goes, man, I don't need anything right now, but you have one of the largest magazine selections in I've seen since Dayton and Columbus. He's like, a lot of people carry like a box of magazines, and you have 3 boxes of Conan alone. It's your stock is insane. Hey, sweetie. So our cat's here in the shot with us.
Well, it's good. It keeps out the prowlers too.
It does keep out the prowlers, yeah.
And it keeps some of the customers honest too.
Exactly. People come back just for the cat. They do. We have a customer up from Cincinnati. He always comes in with his girl, and he's like, well, let's go out. She's like, where are we going? We're going to the comic shop. Oh, great, I can see the cat. And she sat yesterday for 20 minutes and played with Shisa, our cat, and he was back there doing his shopping. She's like, I'm not bored. That's his thing, but I can play with the cat because I'm interested in the cat. So.
Sweet.
Yeah. We've always had a store cat, except for a couple years. We had, of course, Pyewacket for Bell Book and Candle, Bell Book and Comic at first. Mm-hmm. Then she moved on to a home. We got, she was kind of getting too old for this place. And then we had Mojo, and he was here for a while. He passed away, and now we have Shisa. So, we've, more of the store's life than not, we've had a cat in the shop, and it's always been good, very energetic, and it brings me to life. People come in, like, oh my God, you have a cat. So,
And right now she's going through and she's doing her check.
Yeah, she's doing the check. She's going back. She jumps up on the back issues and she sits on the tub in the back and falls asleep.
Or on the counter.
Or on the counter,
basically
yeah.
wherever she wants to go.
Yeah, she's never destructive to the store property. She just will go anywhere she wants.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Of course. Always glad to talk about, what's going on and rap about stuff. It's always good.
Sweet.
So.
You are the man.
And that's the problem.
This week I wanted to take a deeper dive into Strange Tales 136. This particular issue is the oldest comic book I have currently in my collection. So it's kind of a little time capsule. We're going to open the book up and check it out, flip through the pages, and see what's inside. Alright, this is Strange Tales number 136. This comic book is 56 years old. Can you believe that? As you can see, it's pretty banged up. You can see all the damage along the spine here. Okay, but you don't see a lot of videos where they open up comics this old. So I wanted to go through to do this. This will probably be the last time I actually open this comic book because it's actually falling apart. You can start to see pieces here of it on the table, but it's really cool. So this is a comic book called Strange Tales. And back at this time, Marvel didn't release a lot of comic books. Okay, so some of their more popular characters didn't have their own books yet. They were just kind of cobbled together and shared a book with another hero. So like I said, this is September 1965. 56 years ago, and put a little bit of perspective. Also in this month, Amazing Spider-Man number 28 was released. Avengers number 20. Fantastic Four number 42. Journey into Mystery, a Thor title at that time. Issue 120 was released. Tales of Suspense was a split title with Captain America and Iron Man. And you had Tales of Astonish, number 71, that came out. That also was a shared title with the Hulk and Namor. And Uncanny X-Men number 13 came out all at the same month. You would have seen this on the same newsstand with all these other books. So, and also, kind of put a little perspective, it's 1965, September 1965. The Beatles basically have a lock on the album and singles charts with Help, Lost in Space, I Spy, Green Acres, Hogan's Heroes, I Dream of Jeannie, Get Smart, and Days of Our Lives actually premiered in September of 1965. So that's pretty cool. Not to mention, there was some birthdays. Charlie Sheen, Paul Heyman, Jeff Ross, Zach Starkey, and Bryan Singer, who would later go on to direct some of the X-Men movies. It was all born in this month. So like I said, that's 56 years ago. This comic book is old. It's not in very good condition, but again, I don't mind if it's beat up. As long as the cover is still attached, I'm good. At least for, a quick read. Because I do like to read my books. As you can see looking at the cover here, there's all this damage in the spine. So we'll have to be real careful. Again, pages are yellowed. But that's to be expected in a book that's, 56 years old. Not at that time, it's not like everybody was bagging and boarding their comic books. They were basically thrown in drawers. So this is basically two stories. The first one is for a Nick Fury story. Again, 56 years ago, this is when Nick Fury was a white dude, okay? Stan Lee wrote it, laid out by Jack Kirby, and all the artwork was done by Johnny Severin. So that's pretty cool. But the cool thing, if you're flipping through these books, and you kind of see the artwork, so the artwork is much different than, the years that come after. But it's also interesting as you go through these books and you start reading the panels, some of the language that they use, because obviously they're talking like it's 1965. So when you go through and you see stuff like, this conversation here is, she says, "The works, that means big trouble is on your heels, right, Colonel?" And Fury says, "I'm not sure, doll, but in this racket, only a meathead takes chances." Nobody says meathead anymore, and he called her doll. That's funny. So basically what this is a story where Hydra is going after Nick Fury. And as you see, these are old school Hydra dudes on their jetpacks flying in because they are going to take out Nick Fury. And, obviously Nick Fury gets the upper hand because he's the super soldier, the supreme James Bond type character. But I just think some of this is funny. So right here is like, "I've been itching to try out this new hypno beam that Section W developed for us." What the hell's a hypno beam? That's hysterical. So like I said, it's pretty cool. He's in a barber shop where it's actually a bit of a shield safe house. So like I said, it's kind of cool, and especially when you go back and you get to see some of these older ads. And you get to see how the artwork has changed and how things have developed. But it's really cool. Like I said, not a key by any stretch of the imagination. But like I said, especially nowadays, people would be surprised to know that Nick Fury, for years and years and years, was a white dude, with a eye patch. Not Samuel L. Jackson with an eye patch. So the back of the book is a second story with Doctor Strange, Master of the Mystic Arts. This is pretty cool. He's out here looking for eternity. But there's a lot of characters thrown into this book real quickly. So it's a Doctor Strange title. You got Clea right here. Dormammu, which you saw briefly in the Doctor Strange movie. Baron Mordo. Yes, Baron Mordo was a white dude as well. Play the 1965 Big League Baseball game. Send for a free sample. Hey, you want some X-ray specs? You can get it. Cut out this coupon. Send your $1. Like I said, a lot of this is really, really cool. Stuff you don't see in comic books anymore. Like I said, the story here with Doctor Strange is kind of goofy. But then again, you're trying to tell a complete story in just a few pages. So it's still pretty cool. It's kind of a cool read. Like I said, if anything, it's it's a time capsule, and it's cool to look back and see this stuff. You get the Ancient One, who, by the way, is an old Asian dude. Go figure. Record Riot 60 Smash Songs for $2.98. It's crazy. Hey, you can send away direct by mail U.S. government surplus. How about that? So I thought that was pretty cool to show you guys, and I'll continue to do this from time to time. As you can see, this book is falling apart, so I'm going to go ahead and get this all bagged up and get out of here. But I figured it might be worth something to share, and you guys might like it. Okay, something really cool happened this week. I posted my first video last week, and to my surprise, I ended up getting a message from somebody who watched the video and had some questions. So we're going to do a mailbag. In this, it comes from a kid by the name of Logan, so I'll just read the letter. Hi Ray, I'm Logan, I'm 15, I'm a big MCU fan, and thanks to your video I bought my first comic book. I was wondering what you recommended for beginner collectors and what is good to start with. Thank you. Logan, that's cool. I think that's awesome. You made your first trip to the comic book store. You're one of the nerd pack now. So, the best advice, Pete Bell already gave you some advice earlier in the episode. My personal advice is kind of along the lines of what he said, start small. I also figured I'd help you out a little bit. Because you sent me the letter and it's something that you're interested in, I went through my collection and I have a short box with 100 comic books inside. That's going to help you along your journey. And the best thing about it is you get an introduction to a number of Marvel characters, Avengers West Coast, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Excalibur, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, X-Men, Lots of X books in here. X-Force, Fantastic Four, Moon Knight, Winter Soldier, New Warriors, Doctor Strange, Punisher, blah, 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 blah. Plus, I'm also giving you a copy of this Iron Man hardbound book. This is pretty cool. Check this out. This actually is a more current run. It's a really good read. Check that out. That'll help you out a little bit. I appreciate that. And keep in touch and let me know how your collecting's going. Okay, if you're watching my video and you want to get a deeper dive into some of the comic books you like, you need to check out the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I will provide a link to their episode on The Killing Joke in my description. You need to check them out. 4 guys from overseas who do a great job. They really break down a particular run or a particular issue. We're talking artwork, writers, artists. It's fantastic. Real deep dive stuff. Okay, but if you're interested, you need to check them out. They have a really cool channel, all sorts of things that they discuss on there. Really cool stuff. All right, nerds, that's about all the time that we have this week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the ringy dingy so you can get updates when I upload my newest video. That's all the time that we had. I'm all nerded out at the moment. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching.
It's not focusing. Well, anyway. There's Peggy Carter.
What can you see in the shot?
So you can see Phoenix, Iceman or whatever.
That's Han Solo. That's Han Solo frozen in carbonite.
I don't know. the giant size X-Men.
So I said to the guy, I said, rectum. No, I'll try that again.
What?
Damn near killed him.
I can't. What?
So I says to the guy, I says, rectum? Damn near killed him.
You know we're recording, right?
This week is going to be poop. I don't know. I had something going and just it didn't feel right.
Poop.
It's going to be dog
That should be your bleep. Poop.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Alright, so we'll do it again. In his wonderful store to tell us a little bit more about what... try that again. Here we go.
It's all good.
Alright, here we go. Try that again. There's, if you watched the last video, there's a number of bloopers that went into doing this.
It happens.
It almost is like I don't know what I'm doing.
You don't.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all good. That makes it even better.
Yeah, that makes it look stupid. It makes me look stupid, which is great because it's fun. I don't care if I look stupid.
Need some more dick and fart jokes. You have to leave that in.
That'll make roll. All right, ready?